Good evening, everybody. My name is Mary O'Connor, and I'm with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, and I also manage the Aviation Safety Program at the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health here in Anchorage. This evening, we are happy to have Paul Suffern with the National Transportation Safety Board on our show. Paul, welcome to Hangar Flying.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paul is a meteorologist, or weather guy, at the NTSB. He is part of a team that is in Alaska to look at issues with the system that is used to collect and disseminate information about weather. It's used by pilots, and the implications that these weather reports have are tremendous, and they can be used all over the weather system. So, Paul, can you start by telling us where these pilot reports, or PIREPs as they're called, are initiated and how that's done?
Absolutely, Mary. They can start mainly in one of two areas. The first area being human initiated, or the pilot in the cockpit, and they call to air traffic control and let them know that they're having weather conditions, whether that's turbulence, icing, any number of areas there, cloud bases. And air traffic control will take that information down, and then they'll pass it along in the system there. Another main area that PIREPs can be valued and given to weather forecasters is automated conditions there, and that's on flights that have those instruments procured on the airplane, and then that instrumentation takes down automated pilot reports such as temperature, dew point conditions, relative humidity, and then that can be passed along to weather forecasters as well.
And those types of aircraft, we're talking 737s, Boeings, Airbuses, not your average Super Cub?
Yeah, typically for the automated reports, those will be the larger aircraft or the larger operator that'll be passing along those PIREPs. So, and a lot of times they'll have those pilot reports that'll cost money to get that information. While the human-initiated one, that one will pass through the system as free.
Okay. Do individual pilots file pilot reports, or is that something a company can do?
Typically, it's a human-initiated, or just the GA pilot out in the bush or flying along, just giving flight information when they're talking to air traffic control, whether they're VFR or IFR, and they're giving that information there. So typically, it's just a pilot, so we don't see too many reports from companies.
Okay. So once a general aviation pilot enters a pilot report into the system, how does that get to the meteorologist?
So once a pilot enters that information into the system, it goes to air traffic control, and from air traffic control, it'll filter. Eventually, they'll type that system into basically an internet portal, and then that internet portal will take that information and it'll go pretty much immediately over to the National Weather Service forecasters on the floor, where they're doing their weather observations and weather forecast, and then they can view that information quite quickly once it goes through, once the pilot says it, and once air traffic control, it goes through their area. So.
And this sounds like a great idea if it's all flowing smoothly. I just want to take a second here to ask if a person has a problem with the system, be it a pilot or an air traffic controller or even a meteorologist at the Weather Service. I understand that you have started an email where people can give comments about the PIREPs, and that's part of what you're doing here. But
Yeah.
if people don't have the opportunity to talk to you while you're here, they can do that by email.
Absolutely. We've set up an email account, piratcomments@gmail.com, and they're able to give us information through that email account, and we'll take that information into account for this report and look at any information that comes in for those folks that want to discuss that. So.
Okay, great. So what do the meteorologists do with the information once they get it?
They do a lot of things with pilot report information. First of all, they record that observation. Is that fitting the forecast that's out there? If it's not fitting the forecast that's out there, how can, as meteorologists, do we need to make the area that we're warning for bigger or smaller? We were just over at the Weather Service yesterday, and they brought up several examples where they've made advisory or warning areas smaller based on the pilot reports that they were getting, whether it's a GA pilot or whether it was a commercial pilot. and then areas where they've had to expand their forecast areas. So that information is extremely valuable in making areas both smaller and bigger for warnings and advisories to get back to the pilot community.
Wow. So these reports can be very helpful to pilots on the ground that may be planning a trip, as well as pilots in the air.
Absolutely, and in it, not only that, but whether researchers will use this information to tailor the forecast models that go to the pilots, and then that will get back to the pilot eventually through new graphics. So.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward to having you on our next show and learning more about PIREPs.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for supporting Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media. And thank you for tuning in to Hangar Flying. Please remember us with the Pick, Click, and Give program with the Permanent Dividend Fund. Until next time, fly safely.